Welcome to the Pin Leader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The Pin Leader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
And welcome to the Pin Leader Podcast. Today we're going to talk about lessons from the links, and I am so glad to have with me Mr. David Graf, who is a PGA Master Professional, and Nick Graf, who is a Territorial Sales Manager and Golf Professional. And today when we talk about golf, we're talking about it from how leaders actually utilize it and how you can benefit from it. So I'm really glad. But let me get to their introduction so that you know who exactly is on the show today. So I'll start with Nick Graf, who is, like I said, a Territorial Sales Manager and Golf Professional. He works for Tectran, which is a heavy-duty trucking company. He teaches golf on a regular basis. He's a golf coach at Central Catholic High School and an instructor for the top golf clinic in Northwest Ohio, M&A Culture Building Institute. And he has a degree from marketing from the University of Findlay, and he has a podcast himself. He's host of Holy Toledo. I also have with me Mr. David Graf. He's from Tecumseh, Michigan, and attended the University of Toledo on golf scholarship. He entered the PGA Apprentice Program in 1983 and became a PGA member in 1985. He's earned a PGA Master Professional in 1996. He's worked as an assistant professional at the Toledo Country Club and has been the head golf professional at 3 private clubs: Orchard Hills in Buchanan, Michigan, Frankfort Country Club in Frankfort, Kentucky, and Inverness Club in Toledo, Ohio. Professionally, he's won several local and regional professional events, 3 course records, and several PGA awards: Merchandiser of the Year, Horton Smith Award, and Quarter Century Award, Top 100 Golf Shop. He's a personally proud Christian Catholic, proud father, husband, family man, and proud American and citizen in Switzerland. He is married to his best friend for 36 years, and he's the proud father of 3 wonderful children who are, I believe, adults now: Alexandria, Nicholas, and Jacqueline. So it's really a shout out. I know some of them, and just a wonderful family, but wonderful golf professional. So welcome to the show.
Dr. G, thank you. It's always a treat to be in your presence.
Aw, thank you so much. And I'm so glad, David, meeting you actually for the first time too. So that's
My
wonderful.
pleasure.
So let's get right into it. With golf is often described as a game of discipline, patience, and really decision making. What leadership lessons do you think the game teaches best? And I'm going to start with you, David.
Well, golf is often referred to as like the microcosm of life. It has all the same joys and disappointments and struggles, and it's one of the things that you get out what you put in it. So, everyone gets to decide how good they want to be. Nobody's born a good golfer. So you've got to educate yourself. You've got to have the patience, the desire to get better. You've got to work at it to get better. And along the way, the improvement isn't linear. It's up and down, and you got to have a certain amount of stubbornness, stick-to-itness to get better. And, it teaches you some great life lessons dealing with success, disappointment. So, obviously as a golf professional, I've dedicated my life to the game. So it's really interesting watching young people, certainly my kids who, started as soon as they could walk to, playing collegiate golf and, still enjoying the game to this day, which is very rewarding to me. And selfishly, I always wanted them to play golf, not because I wanted them to be a golf professional, but selfishly, I wanted somebody to play golf with when I was older and retired. And my whole goal, and you see it a lot in golf, where kids get very turned off by golf, whether it's because they have a helicopter parent or they get pushed too hard. My goal was always that, hey, I want them to still like golf after they're out of school and use it as a distraction to life, but also to network and meet people and mature as adults.
I think that's the best kind of self-focused agenda and one of the best ways of being laid out there on why you would want that to happen for your children. I do think there's something said about what you just said about networking, because it's the power of that too. I mean, you're giving them a lifelong skill. And I think about individuals who are my presidents and our VPs that are listening out there that they're trying to encourage their staffs to go out. They're not necessarily family members, but they're trying to get them to go out and network. And Nick, what are your thoughts on that? Because I've seen you work that too.
Yeah, it was cool being raised by a golf professional. That certainly wasn't too hard on us. I think every time you walk off the golf course, the first question everyone asks is, "What'd you shoot?" We'd text my dad, finish the round, and he'd always say, "How trusting were you today? Did you accept every shot?" That would be his message. So I think golf is all about how you look at it. On one hand, it's the most frustrating game in the world. It's a beautiful game. I think it's the only sport, I was doing a little research, where the lowest score wins.
Mm.
And so from that light, it's like, okay, you don't have to be perfect. You're just trying to clean up your mess, which, you can relate that to life. There's so many parallels. So golf, I think, has been a gift that my dad's given me with the right perspective and attitude. And so, yeah, I get to teach golf lessons on Saturdays and then at the great clinic on Tuesday evenings. And I just feel called trying to get people into the game because it's not as intimidating, I think, as people think. And through the clinic, we've met a lot of people, like you just mentioned, that are kind of pushed to get out and play in an outing. And their first thought is, gosh, I'm going to embarrass myself, So it's been fun trying to make golf less intimidating for the beginner.
That's exactly right. And for those that do play, like I try to play, my husband tries to play, we learn every time we are out with individuals who play a lot. And it's the social aspect. I have so much fun, even if I'm not even my best shot. And I was looking back on some videos and we're just laughing about the fact that and even when we miss it, it's like, oh, that's painful.
Mm.
And so I think it teaches you how to lose in a way, how not every shot's going to be perfect.
Mm.
So get used to it. So I think it builds up your tolerance of not doing well, at least for those that don't golf as well.
You have to, interesting sidebar is I think in golf is maybe in life, there's so many more failures than successes, or maybe failures isn't a good word, but struggles. And I remember my daughter who was a fine player and played college golf. And while she was a collegiate, she went to a school in Louisiana and she had teammates from all over the world. And it went from, she was the dominant player in Northwest Ohio, being the big fish in a small pond, to being really, it was a struggle to make the lineup. And she had one great success. She won a college tournament that I caddied for 36 holes. And it was so rewarding for her. And we talked on the way home, and the conversation was all those struggles and all the hard work you're willing to put up with 98% struggles and frustration for that one time where it all comes together. So I think that's a great life lesson, is that, hey, you're going to stumble, you're going to have a lot of difficulty, but the reward when you are successful, which isn't every time, is so good. It makes all the struggles worthwhile.
So let's talk about that a little bit further, because I'm looking at individuals who don't handle the struggle very well. And for that question, teaching golfers about staying composed under pressure. And I think about, even if you're in a scramble and you're moving forward, just like in life, you may have to pivot, you may have to step on the gas a little bit. And so what do you see in really that struggle? I think, based on what your dad just said, what do you see that with handling pressure?
On one hand, it's a scary game to compete in because you truly are out there by yourself. You can have a coach or a teammate on the next hole, but you've got to go hit the ball wherever you just hit it. And you might take a penalty stroke or two, and you got to write down an 8 on the scorecard and sign for it. So yeah, I think it teaches you how to be independent. And then more importantly, you can get fired up and bothered and tense and frustrated and try to push it. But through good coaching and through experience, that only makes things worse. So that's why my dad likes to preach within golf, like acceptance of, okay, we are in this position we're in. We're going to try to hit a good shot here. We're going to do that from a place of acceptance and belief instead of beating ourselves up and being all negative, and that's no good.
I think you even said to some individuals that were graduating from the golf clinic, you had the 3 Fs. Can you briefly talk about those?
Yeah. People get so in their head about golf and, they're not going to like playing with me. I'm not any good. But some guy told me you've got to be 2 of the 3 Fs. And it's fast, fun, and I forget what the other F was, but it meant good. So if you're not a good player, you've got to play at a good speed, and you got to be fun to play with.
I'll take the 2. I don't even need the 3rd. That's good. That's really good. networking and relationship building, they've long been connected to golf. And we briefly talked about that. But why do you think the course creates such a unique environment for connection? And I'll start with you, David.
Well, it's interesting. I know Nick in his job last week, and actually I know for all three of my children, it's helped them in their business relationships, and quite frankly, everybody loves to play with a good golfer. And so if you've got that skill and you've developed it, I know Nick played with some clients, and he loved the golf course. He drove to Grand Rapids to play. And I remember I said, man, those guys had to love playing golf with you because they don't see somebody who plays at that level. And whether you're a musician, a singer, a billiards player, people love to see skill and talent that when you're a nice guy. So if you're a good person and you're enjoyable to play with and you've got that skill, it gives you automatic credibility. And remember a quote from Jack Nicklaus is he said, once he won his first major, they started asking him about world politics and he goes, all of a sudden, because I won a major, I was an expert at every subject. And he goes, I didn't know anything more than the week before. He goes, but everybody perceived me as being an expert because I was that good at golf. So
there's something said about that. I have seen that effect too. It's because someone won an award, so they think you're an expert in these other areas. It just flows into this other thing, and I agree. Now, I will say this: I've seen Nick play, and I might ask him about what should we do in investments and the stock market, but I don't quite go that far. But I definitely will ask him like, so what are your thoughts on, this or that? And because you get a chance to build relationship with them while they're in front of you too.
And just the time you're spending with somebody. I mean, that's again, an interesting note. A very close friend of mine who's has very impressive children. And we'd gone to dinner with this couple and he goes, oh, I just had the greatest weekend of my life. He goes, I spent 2 days in a row. He goes, I spent 4 hours with my daughter visiting colleges. And he goes, that's the first time I've spent 4 straight hours with her in years. And I'm thinking, wow, I just spent 4 hours 3 or 4 times a week with my daughter because she wants me there, or my son playing golf or watching him play in a tournament. And I said, it's not even thought of as spending time. It's just like, hey, this is what we do together. So it allows you to spend quality time with your spouse, with your friends, with your kids. I mean, that I can think of, you can't get anywhere else.
Let's go into that especially with those relationships and about communication. I'm big on communication. I think I talk about the 3 C's in my book about care. Good organizations, exceptional leaders are showing care. They have strong communications and they understand those 2 elements, and then being civil when you're talking with someone, having the exchange of back and forth. When you get those 3 C's working, you have a great culture. You actually truly have a great culture. But when one fails, and one of them being communication, it can be a challenge. And then there's something else that falls apart. Trust is another one. So when you're spending several hours with someone on the golf course, and I think you alluded to that, what would you suggest, especially if someone's going out? Because I will say this, I've seen golfers go out and they are playing, but they're playing so intensely. They're not the fun factor. They may be fast, but they're not fun. So can you talk about like an approach, especially if you are playing, you're maybe not as good, but you're playing with others that are really excellent. Like, what can you do?
I played in the Ohio Open last year, and I played not very well the first day. And at night, I'm hitting some putts on my putting mat, and I'm just thinking, what could I do better? And I remember going the next day with just the simple 2 thoughts of I'm going to have good posture, and I'm going to try to make the people around me play better, be more encouraging, hype them up, toss them a divot. And the second day, I played my best tournament round ever, just with the thought of I'm going to try to make those guys that I'm playing with play better, because a rising tide raises all ships, as they say.
That's right.
So I think there's that with, like, when I tell the people in the clinic, my sales pitch on golf, there's so many reasons it's beautiful. It's outside. You can travel the world and do it. You can have a cocktail while you play. You could throw $1 on the line. But I try to get people playing golf because it's so much fun and it's so good, I think, for your mental health and your physical health. Mm-hmm. And it's only at its peak when you're doing it with people that you enjoy being around. And there's a handicap in golf so that everyone can play together. So like the worst player can play with the best player, just like anything else, having fun, being joyful, not taking yourself too seriously. People are going to love to play with you.
It's interesting you say that because I just had a conversation with someone who called me up, and I'm not a golf expert, and said, "Hey, I'm going to get ready to play." They asked me what my handicap was, and I really don't know what that is. And I did the golf clinic. I'm going to do it again in the fall, which they're committed to coming back, which I said, yeah, come to the golf clinic, come to the golf clinic. And one of the things as I'm having this conversation, they're looking for people to play with. So they're trying to figure out, like, I should be asking other people because I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to go to the scramble and do this. And I said, well, think about what's your end game. What is your goal? You're going out to have fun. Are you raising money? I've been in a number of scrambles. I raise money. I'm having a good time. I don't even want people to know really we just recently played. And I'm like, just have fun. Don't think about the money. But because the money they're going to ask if it's a fundraiser anyway, right? But having the company and the social time is really the most important. So that's what I asked them on the phone. I said, what's your end game? What's your goal? I mean, if you're looking for the best golfer out there to play golf with, that means you're trying to win something.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been to enough scrambles now. I'm never going to get on the winning list. I doubt I'm ever going to be closer to the hole, but I'm going to cheer for whoever it is, and have fun. And that's really about teams too. Not every team is going to be successful, and not everybody on the team is going to rise to expectation all the time. And that's about, you have to set the expectation, but there's a level of working with someone. Let's practice together. Let's learn professional development. What do we need so that the whole team, and I think all ships rising together is a good point. Last question on this is really because I'm talking with a father-son, which is really a great dynamic. David, as a PGA Master, how is this really with your father-son dynamic shaped the way you teach and learn and really lead, especially with your organization?
That's really an interesting question because, I think tying this into some of the questions you ask, I think for young people, golf is such a great game because you end up playing with a lot of adults and you learn to act and how to communicate between eye contact. And you're learning a lot by example because not everyone you play with is mature and there's people having temper tantrums or, with junior golf, kids not, I hate to call it cheating, but not counting all their strokes and things like that. So you learn integrity, you learn, wow, you're watching somebody have a temper tantrum and wow, that really looks bad. And wow, that's immature. So, those things are very interesting. And I would say Nick and I grew up under different circumstances in the fact that for me, golf was a way to get an education, was a way to get to come see and maybe see the world and do some things where, I'd say Nick had a more, going to private school, Catholic school, having all the instruction exposed
Driving an electric scooter to the
yeah,
driving range,
yeah. The only way I was able to play a country club when I was a kid is I had to work at one. My parents couldn't afford it. So, and where Nick had access to all the private clubs in Toledo. But having said that, Alex and Nick and Jacqueline, they learned great communication skills. They're easy to be around. And I've learned a lot from them is, they don't feel the need to recite their resume to everyone. They're interested in other people. And you said, those are the things you learn on the golf courses. If you'd like people to like you and enjoy being around you, you have to act interested in them. You can't just tell them what you've accomplished
That's
or what
right.
you've done. So, from Nick, he's got and Nick much better than you know me, but Nick has a kindness and really a neat aura that people like him. And I watch that and I'm like, gosh, I need more of that, where I might be a little bit more Bobby Knight than he's a little more John Wooden where sometimes a player needs a hug and, I'm like, hey, nobody cares, work harder. And, from him, I've learned that, hey, people will listen to you a lot more and will hear what you're saying when you show that you care about them. And so, that's been the interesting dynamic. I'm sure he's learned mechanics of the golf swing and he's learned ways not to do things by watching me. And I've learned from him and just in his relationship with people, I think is top shelf. So that's been great for me.
How do you feel about that
Wow.
comment? I think that's amazing.
Very nice to hear. Yeah, it's cool because, my dad got to make golf a career. He had good mentors when he was younger. He kind of slowly got into the game and, he's probably the most disciplined and hard worker I know. And because of that, he was able to have a successful playing career and then have a great job. And he always joked with me when people would say, "Are you going to be a golf pro?" And my dad would say, "Nick, it's much better to be a member than a pro."
Ooh, that's a good point.
Better to be a member at a club than work at one.
Yeah. So it's been cool because I've got to truly keep it a hobby. I played in college very mediocrely, to be honest, but I've been able to continue the love of the game, playing with friends, trying to bring it to other people. And also, like my dad would always say, like trying to give back to the game that's been so good to me and share with others. So
That's amazing. I can't thank you both enough coming on the show and really taking the time. Your schedules are so tight. This one thing is I'm like, well, I could possibly go buy a golf range and maybe that would make me better, but that's not how it makes you better. But in your case, you're so good at what you do, and it's nice that you have a golf range too.
well, Shane, I would say thank you for kind of connecting our side with your side of the people that are curious about golf and open to it with people that love it and want to share it. So
Aw.
it's a good relationship.
And golf and what's great about you is I love people like you that love golf, that it's like you said earlier, it's 100% a distraction from the real world. And it's a way to spend time with your spouse or your friends. And I'm fascinated, for me owning a range, I'd spent my first 40 years of my career at a private clubs. That's the only thing I knew. And now that I'm in the public arena, it's very interesting for me to see all the different ways people love golf. Some people want the exercise. Some people love the competition. Some people, they like being outside. I mean, there's all these different reasons
The
that
outfits.
people love golf or
Sure.
spending time with their kids or whatever it might be. It's really fascinating to see because I only knew one small segment of the golf world, and it's far bigger than I imagined. So
It's amazing. I want to encourage anyone who's listening who, if you're not a good golfer or if you've never golfed before, let me just emphasize to you that there are golf clinics out there. If you don't live in Northwest Ohio and you can't get to the greatest golf clinic, which is our M&A Culture Building Institute at culturebuilding.org, check out the events and sign up. But if you're not used to seeing that or you're not, please seek out and feel out whoever that instructor is. You don't have to stay with the instructor if you're not connecting with that instructor. Because there's been situations like I went to this instructor and it was just horrible. But I want to encourage anyone who's listening, if you don't know how to play golf, if you're getting invited to a number of scrambles, understand that you can find a way to get there and make sure that it's a great experience. And your scramble of 4 are people that have a level of that are not going to really be upset if you're not hitting well. I think that drives people out too. So I want to say thank you to both of you very much for coming out and sharing that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gore.
Excellent. And thank you to our listeners for catching the show and liking it and sharing it. We really appreciate you. And thank you to our sponsor, the Maine Intelligence Network. Come be part of a focused network of entrepreneurs, leaders, executives, and authors committed to sharpening leadership and strategy while scaling ventures with intention. This is a place where practical thinking meets high caliber connection. Check out the Maine at www.maesassociatesltd.com. Select Maine on the homepage and learn more and sign up and get connected. And thank you to Mavalino Custom Home Builders, where they build custom homes with superior quality, value, and integrity. And of course, until next time.
The Pen Leader podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Mays & Associates LTD, creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Pen Leader podcast and share with others.